Hello, and welcome to another Connect Solutions 2024 event. Firstly, I'd like to thank Backland Studios for managing all the functionality here. There are a lot of buttons available on the admin side of this webinar, and I like to press as few as possible. In fact, I did throw out one of our guests 20 minutes ago by mistake, which is why I am deeply grateful for Brian at Backland Studios for making sure those things don't happen. Some housekeeping for you. We are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and X, as well as direct via StreamYard. If you're logged in via StreamYard, there is a comments field to your right, and you can post any questions there for us that you want. Using the comments section on any other platform will get those comments to us too, and that's going to be important because we have a pop quiz at the end of the webinar to win one of three $50 Amazon gift cards. That's coming up at the end of the show, so we'll take answers to those questions in the comments field. More on that later. As ever, I'm Daryl Gillard, Director of Sales at Connex, and I have 30 years experience helping IT teams achieve their goals in all sorts of fields, whether that be software, cybersecurity, infrastructure, not quite you name it. I've done it, but I've been around. With me today is Jerry Mowing and Dave Brown of OpenText. They are a Connex infrastructure partner. Jerry's been serving the IT industry for well over 10 years, including 8 at Carbonite, which is now an OpenText company. Dave's had an IT career spanning over 20 years. Talking of acquisitions, Dave stayed in the same company since 2005, but been through at least 3 different acquisitions in that time. Gentlemen, welcome to Solutions 2024.
All right. Well, thank you, Daryl. Good day, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Again, my name is Jerry Mung. I have a middle name also. I just can't pronounce it. I'm a solution advisor here at OpenText, based out of Boston, Massachusetts. I'll probably spare you folks with a Boston accent, as I'm just not really fond of it myself. But alongside of me, I have Dave Brown, who is the OpenText solution consultant based out of Sarnia, Canada. For this part of the session, we're going to talk about how to leverage OpenText as part of your data protection strategy as it pertains to backup and disaster recovery. Later on, we'll segue into a live demo where Dave will have the pleasure of showing us the realms of capabilities and really also helping me look smart by proximity. Also, keep your ears tuned. As Daryl mentioned earlier, we're going to have a little fun with a pop quiz at the end, giving you an opportunity to earn a few free $50 Amazon gift cards. All right, press it on. Okay, so starting with who is OpenText. We're HQ'd in Waterloo, Canada. We have relatively a small company standing at about 25,000 employees today, although the brand OpenText itself is well known for enterprise information management. However, by acquisitions through the brands and technologies you see here, we learned that these technologies really play well with each other. Therefore, we've created this cybersecurity division, arming us with ways to answer to customers' data protection challenges. Now, when we talk about cybersecurity, I think in our perspective, we like to view it in two different lenses, right? So think about how do you proactively protect your data? Think about your antivirus, DNS protection, there's email encryption and so on, and all the way to providing security awareness training to help organizations strengthen their security posture by helping employees better identify phishing attacks, protecting company data, device and password security, and so on. On the reactive side, should data within your company gets impacted by ransomware, fire, flood, hardware failure, accidental deletion, you name it, we like to think about, how do we back up your data to provide you with redundancy, make the data easily accessible to restore, and how do we plan for minimal interruptions to ensure your disaster scenario is not impacting business operations. Statistics show while smaller companies don't make headline, 82% of ransomware attacks target SMB organizations as they're assumptively more vulnerable. So, kind of think about post-apocalypse. What are you doing to prevent looters from entering your home? How are you going to repair the damaged windows and doors they broke into? And how to quickly will your homeowner's insurance respond to helping you with the repairs? You'll have to forgive me for lack of a better analogy. I just rewatched 28 Days Later last night, and for whatever reason, that's where my head is at today. So Anyways, good movie. Um, all right, so let's talk about what we can do for backup. Now, trusting our employees to drop important company data in SharePoint, Microsoft 365, or Google is sometimes like, trusting my wife to take out the trash. She knows how to do it. She doesn't do it. There are times where it makes sense to back up end user data, and therefore we have endpoint and cloud to cloud backup to help protect the data that doesn't always make its way to the servers, right? So some similarities with it too. Both are very easy to configure and deploy. Both are centrally managed backups and granular level restores, unlimited cloud storage or retention, which translates to more predictable costs. The only separation with endpoint backup, you're protecting data from ground to cloud. There's global duplication to help alleviate stress to your network, even offering geo tracking to help track lost, stolen devices, or remote wipe data to prevent data from being compromised on those lost and stolen devices. Now, with cloud to cloud, as you can probably guess, it's a direct cloud to cloud backup, taking your data out of the Microsoft and Google's ecosystem and into our cloud. You can still recover individual items, mailboxes, conversations, projects, tasks, calendars, and so on. Last but not least, we also have Carbonite Server Backup. It's an all-in-one solution for physical, virtual, Hyper-V, VMware. It's very budget friendly. We don't care how many systems you want to protect. All that matters is the actual size of the collective data footprint you're wanting to protect. One thing to note, we're hardware agnostic. You can bring your own hardware or lease our hardware. Flexible recover options, including bare metal recovery, image level recovery, application, or even file level. For critical systems, we also offer cloud failover as an option. If you have regulatory obligations, we can offer flexible retention policies as well. More importantly, and really what I feel separates us from most solutions out there, we offer an extremely efficient backup engine where you are only needing to perform a full backup once and then just the block level incrementals thereafter. No need to perform fulls or differentials every week or every month, leading to unneeded stress to your network or causing your storage consumption to balloon. All right, so let's talk about flexible backup architecture. With Carbonite Server Backup, there are many ways you can design a strategy to meet your desired need, starting with backup directly to our cloud, or for best practices, there's the option to implement a hybrid model, allowing an on-prem backup to take place before replicating to the cloud, thus leaving you with 3 copies of your data. Or you might have multiple offices. You may want to back up site A and site B to site C and eventually replicate into the cloud. However, you want to design it, we can do it. And it might be worth noting there's no vendor lock-in. We understand organizational requirements changes. Therefore, you're not limited to the flexibility of making changes as you see fit. Now, in addition to backup, we sometimes have to account for downtime to rebuild your critical systems. Having significant downtime can lead into loss of productivity or not being able to transact with your clients, leading to customer dissatisfaction, ultimately hurting your bottom line. So, for those who are needing aggressive recovery time objectives, you might hear me say RTO. We look at Carbonite high availability to replicate your critical systems to the secondary systems, whether that be in a co-location, public or private cloud of your choice. This includes replication of physical to virtual, virtual to virtual. It offers patented real-time asynchronous byte level replication. Said differently, capturing every single I/O change as quick as your bandwidth and processing allows it. You can also choose automate failover or declare a DR on demand and then synchronize and fail back to the original server or replacement server with push button simplicity. Now, let's assume you don't have a DR site. You may not want to incur the capital expenditure that comes with hardware ownership. Therefore, we can look at Carbonite CDR, which accomplishes the same real-time replication as high availability, with the difference of one CDR being fully managed service, moving your data off-site for preservation and recovery. Secondly, remote management of protection while also lowering the administrative burden. You improve your RTOs and accelerate modernization using disk-based recovery methods. Um, Eliminate dedicated costs of secondary storage, software, recovery sites, and management. You might also have compliance needs. CDR comes in 1 hour, 4 hour, 24 and 48-hour SLAs. Lots of options to choose from as you think about the maximum downtime your business can endure. So this brings us to why most companies choose to work with OpenText. There's a lot of reasons, but I'll call out the general three. First thing that comes to mind is the simplicity of a solutions. Makes it very easy for organizations to adopt. From an administrative perspective, IT admins find it very comprehensive to configure and deploy, or easily provide a knowledge transfer to the teams that will be managing the service. Second thing I'll point out is we're an all-in-one platform, making it easy to scale across all of our solutions while simplifying your tech stack. Not to mention, we become even more budget friendly as you add more services. Last thing I'll mention is technical support is centralized, eliminating the vendor pointing. Really the last thing you want to do is chase down answers when you're trying to put out a fire. And I'm sure every IT admin can agree to that as well. So that concludes this part of the presentation. I know that was a bit of a mouthful, but I hope it helped shine some light as to how we view data protection as a whole. And shame on me if it didn't. But before we jump into a demo, I'd like to maybe pause for a moment, cover any questions you might have, maybe hear your thoughts now compared to what you initially expected.
Hey Jerry, I appreciate that. While we're waiting to see if we do have any questions, you struck on something towards the end there that reminded me again why OpenText and Connex, we're a partner of OpenText, and that is along with a lot of other partners we use. We look to find tools that make IT teams' life easier. Right? It's hard enough as it is in an IT team. So the more we can simplify while still providing as much functionality as is needed, the better their life's going to be. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. We try to keep our user interfaces, our user experience as simple as possible. There was you know, you mentioned my my longevity here. We used to have a slide back in the day that said, there is no resiliency without simplicity. And I really like that comment. As much as I don't really
Mm.
like living on PowerPoint marketing slides because I'm a tech guy, I stole that. I absolutely stole that because as long as if you can meet your backup needs and you can meet your recovery needs, the simpler that solution is, the faster you can get your data back, the more resilient you are, the less downtime you incur. If you're not spending time on support or clicking through the portal trying to find the item or looking through manuals trying to sort that out, you're back much more quickly.
So what was that again? There is no resiliency without simplicity.
Simplicity. Yeah. So
That's
you're free to steal that. I don't know who came up with it, but
it's a good
I,
one.
I happily stole it.
Yeah, I like it. Jerry, I don't think either nobody understood a word or you explained everything really well. I'm sure it's the latter because I don't think we're getting any questions just now. You want
I
to
mean,
roll?
a lot. Yeah, I mean, a lot of times, like those questions will typically populate as we segue into the demo. So,
Hmm.
if you do hold on to your thoughts, we'll certainly cover any questions that you might have as we pop the hood a little bit open and check to see what we have to offer from a UI perspective.
Sounds good. Dave, I think that's your cue, right?
That's my cue, I guess. All right. So before I share up my screen here to go through a bit of a demo here, just to give you a bit of a just to kind of set the stage here a little bit. So I'm going to show we have a portal that we use that most of our solutions are in. As you saw it earlier on in the slides there, there's been a lot of acquisitions. I've been through quite a few of them. And it takes a bit of time on the back end to kind of connect everything together into a single portal. We have quite a few in it right now. We're adding others. So over the next few months, you'll see others being added in there. Let me share up my screen here and you can get a look at this portal. Should be seeing that soon. So there we go. So this is our main portal. So you can see we have a bunch of solutions in here, and I'll go through some of these in a second. One thing I did also want to mention about the kind of the acquisition path that we've gone through is that we managed to retain all of the tech people as we went through. So when we purchased, I came from the server backup side of the community. Uh, when that was purchased, we kept all of the development, all of the technical people, all of the professional services. Same when we purchased the Zix acquisition, we did the WebRoot acquisition, the Double Take acquisition. All of the technical people were kept. All of the smart people, like say all the smart people except me, or including me, were kept, I guess. But what that means is that there's a very deep technical tenure in our teams, right? So on the professional services side, on the support side, on the sales consultant side, the very deep technical tenure there. I think the average tenure on the PS side is about 10, 15 years, similar with my team as well. So there's a lot of expertise in the data protection, data resiliency, and that's what you need when you're looking to protect this, especially if you're going to be trusting your data to a service. When you don't have the expertise in house and you want to make sure you're bringing in the right people who know what they're doing with this. I recently just noticed, not to go off on too much of a tangent, I noticed that Veeam are coming out with a backup as a service solution that they're going to be managing themselves. And while Veeam is a good product, going into the service side of things is a lot more complicated than just selling software. Now, Veeam has done it through partners before, but now they're trying to take it on themselves. Uh, there's a bit of trepidation behind that. At least if I was a customer, I'd be maybe a little bit wary of jumping into a company that's just starting into offering backup as a service. We've been doing it for decades. All right. I won't go through all of these here. I just wanted to show the main portal here, but I did want to jump into our cloud-to-cloud backup solution real quick. This is for protecting Microsoft 365. Everyone's looking to protect 365, unless I'm talking to schools. Then they're always looking to protect Google. Thankfully, we can protect both. So you can see here, we've got Microsoft, we've got Google. We also have Salesforce, Boss, and Dropbox. So we support all of these platforms in this cloud-to-cloud backup solution. Very, very easy to set up. If I wanted to set up an Exchange backup, I would just give it a name, provide my credentials. That's going to authorize our application to go in and protect that data. And then you're going to see something that looks a little like this. So if I go to my initial backup settings here, these are my initial backup settings. This is where I get to choose the retention period. By default, we have unlimited retentions with this service. So we keep everything forever, unlimited storage, unlimited retentions per user pricing. You get to choose the data center that you want this to go to. Once I've selected it, I can't change it here, but we are spun up all around the world. We have data centers in Canada and the US. We leverage AWS for our cloud-to-cloud backup just because we don't want to put it into Azure because that would be putting all of our eggs in one basket with the Microsoft ecosystem. We don't want to use Google Cloud, similar thing. We want to get it out of those ecosystems to somewhere that's a bit more resilient so that if there was a problem with Azure or a problem with Google Cloud, you would still have access to your data. You can come in here, you can download it, you can get access to that, and then when everything's back up, you can get back to your 365 or your Google workspaces. One neat feature that we have in here, and it's kind of grayed out here, but if I hover over this, you can kind of see what it does. I think we're unique in this, in the cloud-to-cloud backup space, in that we do a full text indexing of all the data that we're protecting. So when you're going to do a restore, again, this ties into the trying to keep it easy. When you're going to do a restore, you're not limited to searching on just a subject line in an email or a file name to find what you're looking for. We can search within the body of that email. We can search within the attachments. We can search within the text of files in your OneDrive or your SharePoint or your Google Drive to find the exact term that you're looking for. So what that means is that you're able to find your data much more quickly because now you're not looking at file names that might be kind of related to what you're looking for. You're finding the exact term, the customer name, whatever it might be in those documents, and then pulling up everything relevant to that. And I can show that a little bit later. We do back up shared mailboxes. There's no license for that. We'll just back them up. If you want to protect them, you just check that off here. Another thing that you'll see in here around the retain auto archive backups, this is around user churn. So users leave the organization, you need to reassign their 365 or Google license to a new user that's coming in, but you still want to retain their old backups of the old user because you may need that, for your retentions. With us, we're going to keep those backups according to the existing retention policy that they were backed up. Again, for no additional license fee on that, we'll just keep them. If you do want to roll them off after a period of time, you're free to check this box and then put in some numbers here, make it a year or 2 years. So after that period of time, those old users will be rolled off the system automatically. But by default, we keep them forever, just like your active users. And then down here, These are all my users. If I want to just protect everybody, I can do that and come up here and select activate. That's my backup setup. With this and any of our solutions, we will always help implement it with you. We don't just throw a login or a link and then a user guide and say good luck figuring that out. With backup, with data resiliency, with data protection, you don't know you have a problem until with implementation until after, right? Until you need to do a restore, right? And then it's too late to go back and fix it. So we want to make sure that you're set up for success. We want to make sure that everything is set up right so that in the event of a disaster, you have your data protected. You're ready to recover. It makes it easier for us, makes it easier for the customer, easier for the partner, everyone all around. It's much better off if we help do that, right? But if you wanted to add a new user, you could just come in here and activate them like that very easily. You can also create rules around it. So if I create rules around this, if I don't want to activate every new user, I can create rules around AD groups or 365 groups to protect those. I won't go through all of these options in here, but I will touch on the restore because I wanted to show you that the full text indexing. And I'll just do an exchange restore real quick. So I have two ways to find the data. I'm just going to find my mailbox here real quick. If I had a ton of mailboxes, I could just search here, but I know I'm right on the first page here. So I'm just going to click into there. And then we have two ways to find that data, either via the backup date. If I want to just go in and browse, I want to see all the data that was backed up on, last night. I can come in here. Let's go into here. Right, there's all my emails, all my notes. We break down Exchange into the component parts, right? So you have your emails, notes, tasks, contacts, calendar here. If I go into my emails, I could restore the entire thing, or I can browse down into it. Again, we do protect the deleted items. So if someone deleted an item and it's invisible to them, come in here and get it. I'll go into the regular mailbox, go into my inbox. And then there's all my emails, right? A lot of spam in here, but that's okay. I can click all these. Once I find what I'm looking for, I can download them in EML or PST format. I can even push it out to some other cloud storage if I wanted to. If I wanted to get another copy of that data somewhere, I'll provide it to someone else. But most likely, you're just going to click restore. It's going to my mailbox, but I could put someone else in there if I wanted to. Click OK. And there's my restore kicked off. Again, very, very easy. We try to keep these workflows simple. We want you to be able to recover your data quickly. The other way is to search, though. So if I come back in here again, I'll go to my my mailbox. And this time I'll click the search option down here. Now, again, we broke it up by the different components. I can do an advanced search if I want to limit it to the to and from fields or put in a subject line here. But if I just put in a straight value here, then this, it's going to find all of the emails that have the word hippo in it. Now, I wanted to test this out when you acquired this many years ago because, again, I'm a tech guy at heart. I like to tinker with things. So I actually copied the entirety of Don Quixote into an email, the thousands of pages there, and just stuck the word hippo in there somewhere just to see if we could find it. And you can see how quickly it comes up. Right, so it's searching across all of that very, very quickly. I can preview it here, so that's there's the start of Don Quixote right there. But that word hippo was just hidden in the text somewhere, and I was able to find it quickly and easily. And then once I've identified what I want to recover, again, I have those same options. I can download it, or I can restore it back to my mailbox. Very, very simple, and that's the same for all of these, whether it's Exchange, SharePoint, OneDrive, Google Drive, even into Salesforce Box and Dropbox. Similar kind of workflows are there.
So Dave, that speaks to the classic sales manager like me coming along and going, I'm pretty sure I got an email that said something about this and I can't find it.
Exactly it. That's exactly
I've
it.
never done that
People
in
don't
my
know
life.
exactly what. No. You've heard stories of people do it. I know.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's exactly what it is, right? You get a request to restore something. I know it was about this customer, it was about this order or whatever it is. But I don't remember. I don't remember what the subject line was. I don't remember who sent it. Very easy. You just put the order number into the search bar and we'll pull up everything that has an order number in it. So again, keeping it simple. Simplicity is resiliency. All right. Let me go back here for a second. Like I said, we are adding our other solutions in here. So right now we have all of our cloud stuff is in here. Our endpoint protection, these are around our antivirus solution, the webroot acquisition. I won't get into those in detail here, but if anyone wants to follow up with that after the call, we're happy to talk about them. One thing that we haven't added in here yet, or I guess a couple of things, we haven't added in our endpoint backup yet, and we haven't added in the server backup yet. They're coming very soon. Obviously it takes a little bit of time to connect the dots behind the scenes to get all that working seamlessly, but we're working diligently on it. So for right now, I'm just going to flip over to my Oops. Let me log in here again. My endpoint protection. Of course, we have multi-factor here, so I need to just get my little code.
I think Brian's protecting your code and screen there, Dave.
Yeah, I think he is too, and I appreciate that. I saw that. All right, give me 1 second here. We're having.
He heard multi-factor authentication and went, "Nope, we're not showing that."
Nope. Yeah. It's just a code, but yeah. Give me 1 second. I think too many accounts. That's the problem.
Does that make you more or less secure, buddy?
Exactly. Well, you got to have the account to show the partner view, and then the customer view, and then the. All right. I'm not sure what's going on there. So let me just do this. Let me pivot real quick. I'm just going to log into the server backup because that's kind of more the focus here. I'll jump onto the endpoint stuff in a minute. So this is our server backup solution. Again, try to keep it simple. We try to make sure that you can find your data real quickly. So when you log into the dashboard here, you can see right on the snapshot exactly what's going on in my environment. I've got this blown up a little bit for to make it easier for you guys to see, but I generally don't have it this large. You don't have to scroll so much. But you can see here I've got 6 successful backups across 6 computers here. I've got one with a warning. I can click into there to see what's going on. We've got one that requires attention. Again, there's maybe an error in a backup. We can go in there and see what's going on there. We also have one that's reporting potential ransomware attack. So we do have ransomware detection built into the server backup solution. We're going to look for some common malware behaviors as we do the backup. So in this way, we can alert you that there's a potential issue with a particular run of the backup. Now, all of our backups are immutable, and we can easily remove if there was a bad backup, if there was an infected backup in there, we can easily remove it from the chain. It's not going to affect any of the previous backups. All of the data is also encrypted and compressed, so there's nothing executable on the back end that this could happen. It's just if you were to restore back from it, you may be restoring some sort of malicious payload. But this way you can quickly identify that, and then we can either remove it, or if it was possibly a false flag, we can easily clear that flag. Right? In the middle here, any new features, announcements we'll throw in here. So you can see we added, there's the ransomware detection thing, hourly backups for VMware, that kind of thing. And then over here, you can download our software. These are just our main agents, so VMware, Hyper-V, Linux, and Windows. We also do support, if you may have seen it on the slide there, we support iSeries, AIX, Sun Solaris, HPUX. So what this means is we can go into very diverse environments and protect it. We're not a single tool, and you're going to see that across all of our stuff really here. We try to be as agnostic as possible around environments. We're very good at going into these environments that have a little bit of physical, a little bit of virtual, maybe some cloud going on, and they need to all protect it. Instead of having 3 different solutions for that, you can protect it all through this portal. So I could have some VMware boxes in here, or some Hyper-V. I could have some Nutanix VMs in there. I can have regular physical boxes. I could have some cloud servers running in Azure, AWS, wherever it may be, all reporting into the same portal. So I don't have to manage multiple solutions to protect my entire server environment here. The other neat feature that we have in here is our bare metal recovery. So the bare metal recovery is a way to recover from bare metal. The nice thing about our tool is that it is a Windows-based tool. We leverage Windows PE for this, so it's easy to work with. Again, try to keep it simple. You don't have to learn Linux to do a bare metal recovery. But what it does is it's a live boot version of our software. So you boot off of that on an empty system, whether it's a new physical box or even if it's a VM, you didn't use our VMware agent or Hyper-V agent to protect it, and you wanted to back it up from within the guest. You could just create an empty VM, attach the ISO to it, and then let you go and do the restore. Just click next, 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 like a Windows thing. Select your system, select your job, your point in time. At the very end of the restore, when the restore completes, it's going to check to make sure that what was restored is going to work on the new hardware you just put it on, because maybe you couldn't get the same physical hardware. You got a different storage device and you've restored an old storage driver. It's going to detect, hey, this storage driver is going to work. Let's inject the right one. Or if you went from physical to virtual, or virtual to physical, or cloud to the ground, or whatever it might be, will detect that the Windows hardware abstraction layer has changed, right? And with a click of a button, we can switch out that HAL so that machine will boot up within that environment. So you can go from P to V or V to P or whatever with this solution very, very easily. Well, that's only really for bare metal stuff. Most of the time, you're going to be doing individual file restores here, or system restores. So this is where you manage all of that. So I can see there's my Linux box, VMware, Hyper-V. Then I've got some Windows boxes down here. I come into one of my Windows boxes. We can see there, this was one, we simulated a ransomware attack here, so we see that potential threat. And I could click in there, right, be taken to that issue. There's the log. And right now we're defaulting to just errors and warnings, but it identifies exactly what's going on. So it's this directory, and there's some issues with the files in there. Very, very simple. If I wanted to do a quick restore, I can come in here, select restore. Though I am working from home today, so it may be a little slow. There we go. So up here, I get to choose the point in time I want to restore from. So one of the neat things about our solution is that it is incrementals forever, or what we call delta backups forever. We ever have to do a full backup once. Every backup after that is just backing up the block level changes in your data. So it makes it really efficient at sending that data across the WAN to the cloud, and also the storage on both the local copy and the cloud copy. Really works well in remote environments too. I mean, this was developed back in the 90s. We had to build our transport protocol to be robust. If anyone, as old as me remembers internet in the 90s, very, very slow, very, very flaky. So our transport protocol is built to withstand that. So if you have remote sites that need offsite protection, we can do it. We can go into those very, very easily. We talk to customers who are living in areas that are prone to forest fires, for example, that are up in remote communities. We can go in and we can get that data offsite, so in the event of a disaster, they can recover that easily from our cloud. We can even, and I'll get into this a little bit later, spin it up in our cloud if they want to use our cloud disaster recovery service that Jerry was mentioning earlier. So I'm just going to select the latest point in time here. In here, I get to choose the data I want to restore. So if I want to restore the entire C drive, I can do that. Or, I can come in here and, I can restore, say, all the users directories, but maybe I want to do a global exclusion. I know, someone has a whole bunch of their kids' pictures up there, or there was a big, corporate event and all the personal pictures are up in there. I don't need to restore those right now. People need their real company data. So I'm going to exclude those right now. And then later on, when things have calmed down, I can always come back in here and just, restore them all, fill in the gaps. Right? Very flexible there. I can even, obviously restore individual files if I want to. So if I want to restore just I'll just restore the public directory here. Click include. All of the data is encrypted with a key that only the customer has. So we don't have any access to this. Even though the data is in our cloud, we can't decrypt this. We don't have any backdoor access into that data. We're just holding the ones and zeros, but we have no idea how they kind of click together. We will store a hint for you, but we do not have the password. Just give me 1 second to type this in here. I got that right. Probably guess our super secret password here. And then typical things you'll see in a restore workflow. Where's the data going to go? And if it's already there, we're going to overwrite, we're going to rename, and we're going to create copies. You'll see that in every file restore workflow you'll see. And then just click run restore. So I select my point in time, select my data, put in my encryption password, and go. Try to keep it as simple as possible. Okay, it's just submitting that to the agent, and away it goes. Now, while we're doing this, while I'm kicking off this restore here, just to talk quickly about where the data can be stored. So we touched on this a little bit earlier with Jerry's slideshow. Obviously, you can go direct to cloud if you want. Very handy if you have a cloud environment already. If you're already running all of your workloads in Azure or AWS or wherever it may be, you don't want to have to spin up another local copy within that cloud and pay for that to store it locally just to send it off to another cloud. So we can just go direct to cloud with our solution if you want, or ground to cloud if it's a small site on the ground, same thing. You don't want to necessarily need a local copy. You've got sufficient bandwidth. It's not a lot of data. You can recover directly from the cloud easily enough. We can do that. You can also have it all on premise if you want. Right, so you can put it all on premise, manage it all yourself. You can even have replicated copies of that data between sites. So you can have little satellite appliances out at your remote sites. All of the local machines to those sites would back up to that box. Those satellites would replicate back to HQ, to a main hub, and even that hub could replicate over to a DR site in the event of a disaster there. So you can have multiple copies of that data replicating as part of that software. Or you can do a hybrid deployment where you have a local copy of the data that is then replicated up to our cloud. And that's probably our most popular one, because that way you have a local copy for rapid recovery. You have that data restoring over your LAN. It's very quick, but you also get that automatic offsite protection. So in the event of any kind of disaster, your data is offsite protected. You can recover that at any time. We can even If it's a ton of data and your bandwidth just can't handle it in a reasonable amount of time, we can even ship that out to you. There's my restore kicked off. That's going to put that data back. I can see here the jobs are running here. If I click this, I can see what's happening. There's my restore completed. I can go into the logs and see what's going on there too if I wanted to. I won't go through all of these other options here because we've got a few other things we want to cover, and I want to leave time for the fireside chat at the end. But the whole idea here again is that we're able to protect these environments very, very easily. I'll just touch on the VMware stuff. Hyper-V is very similar to this because obviously, when you're protecting VMware, you're not necessarily backing up within the guest, right? You want to back it up through the hypervisor itself. That's what we're doing here. So if I just click this job, you can see instead of protecting files and folders within the job, we're protecting VMs. So I would just select the VMs that I want to protect, and then I can you can see there's the VMs we're protecting. There's all the VMs in our environments. I can just select whatever I want to restore. Yeah, and you can get pretty, granular with this too. So you can see we have individual VMs selected here. But if I wanted to protect everything, I can come down here. Now, normally you don't have to scroll, but like I said, I have this blown up a little bit to make it easier to see. There's all my VMs. I could filter this if I wanted to. So one common thing that happens in virtual environments is that people spin up VMs for all kinds of reasons. So I can create a global exclude of stuff that maybe I don't want, right? And then maybe they all start dev. As long as I have a naming convention there, I can easily exclude those from the backup. So if someone spins up a temporary VM that matches this name, it's not going to be automatically added to the backup. But if someone creates a real VM, it's going to be automatically added. Right? You notice down here, we also can do in-guest backups of applications. So we can back up within the application itself. So if you have a SQL box running SQL within a VM, we can actually call the appropriate SQL VSS writers. As we're backing it up through the hypervisor, we'll log into the VM, call the VSS writers, back up SQL the way it's supposed to be. You can see we can even truncate the database here. Right, so SQL knows that it can overwrite the LDF file. And then when you go to restore, and I'll show this in a second, you have not just the ability to restore the entire VM, but you can restore individual files and folders from that VM without having to restore it. You can restore the SQL database. You can restore tables, records, stored procedures from that SQL database without having to restore the entire VM or even the entire SQL database. Right? We have granular restore for SQL that allows us to get down to those record levels, and then you can either restore them back into SQL or export them out to disk. You can see there's our VM or our ransomware detection option here. And we do have a verify option built into VMware backups where we can boot up the VM at the end of the backup, take a snapshot of the screen and show that the machine is bootable after the recovery. Again, if you've been in IT long enough, you've all been in the situation where a machine is running and everything looks fine until you do a reboot. And that's when it exposes the issues that were running on that box and it won't come back up. Right? And if you were to do a backup of that machine, very similar thing happens because part of a backup from a full recovery is you're essentially rebooting the machine or turning it on from scratch. So all of those issues will be exposed again. And you don't want to experience that in the middle of a disaster. So we try to highlight those for you. Okay. Last thing I'll touch on here is the endpoint backup. Just give me 1 second to log into that again. Yep, there we go. I figured that was going to happen next. Let's get my authentication code again. There we go. One thing I will show before I jump into the portal here is the endpoint client. Now, you don't have to expose this to your end users if you don't want to. It is there, and you can give users access to it. You can lock it down. Typically, it's locked down fairly tightly. There it is here. I'll just minimize this for a second. Here it is here. So you can lock this down pretty tightly. Like I said, you don't have to expose it to your end users. The whole idea behind our endpoint protection is that we want to make it easy for admins to protect that company data on systems that they don't physically have access to, and it's hard for them to administer sometimes, especially if these are remote users or users that travel a lot. Basically, there's certain assumptions you can make with a server backup that you just can't make when you're backing up endpoints. Simple things like, is it on? Right? When a server's on, you don't necessarily know when someone's laptop is on. Is it on a network? Again, very basic questions that you can answer for a server, but for endpoints, very, very complicated. So we designed this solution to be endpoint specific in its protection. Sometimes you'll see some other solutions out there that are essentially a server backup that supports Windows desktops kind of things. But you're still scheduling backups. It's still expecting a network connection, all these kinds of things that just, are kind of troubling aspects to try to protect an endpoint with a server backup solution. So we have this solution here that allows it to do it at an endpoint specific level. So I can come in here as an end user. I can come in here. I could do a restore if I wanted to. But like I said, you can lock this down. Everything that you can do on the client here, you can do via the admin portal, even restores. Everything is policy driven with our endpoint solution. So the admin set up the policy of what needs to be protected, how frequently that needs to happen, all of that kind of stuff. And then the agent picks that up. And because of that, because there's no end user interaction required to get things running, we're able to deploy very, very quickly with this solution. When we acquired this a few years ago, OpenText deployed it worldwide. I think it was 14,000 worldwide employees, and it took us about 2 weeks to deploy 14,000 endpoint desktop systems around the world. Because again, there's no end user interaction required for this. It installs, it activates, starts doing its work right away. Most of our users don't even know it's on their system, but it's protecting their data. And if they ever lose data, they'll be happy to know that it was on there.
So
Let me pull up the portal here real quick. Oh,
suffice to
sorry, was
say,
there a question?
I was going to say,
Okay.
suffice to say, we drink our own Kool-Aid, right?
Yes, we do drink our own. I don't necessarily. We drink our own champagne. We're our own vintners, I guess, right? Yeah, the Kool-Aid. When someone needs to come up with a better,
Yeah.
better saying. That's a little too Jim Jonesy. All right. So this is our portal. I don't have a very active demo environment here, but I can see how my data is uploading over time. This is the status of my environments. Now, we came up with this little pie chart here because, again, with endpoints, it's not always useful to get an alert if it didn't back up the night before, because maybe it's Sunday night, the endpoint wasn't on, right? Or people are on vacation and you're getting all of these false positives. So we came up with this little pie chart to give you that 10,000 foot view of your environment, so I can see, oh, I've got, most of my systems are backed up today. I have got a bunch of, old systems that I've turned off, but they're still in the system. So they're showing up as they haven't backed up in a while. Right, and I can easily see that, and then I can drill down and see what's going on with those systems if I need to. Now, we do have alerts here as well. You get proactively alerted on all of our solutions, right? Endpoint, server backup, the cloud-to-cloud backup solution. All of them will proactively alert you. You don't have to log into us on a regular basis. Essentially, the extent of your backup administration on a daily basis should be taking a few seconds to check your email. And if there's any issues, you can always call us 24/7, 365 support, as Jerry mentioned. But really, that should be the extent of your backup. You shouldn't have to be logging in here every day, checking the status of everything. Check your emails, make sure everything's good, and get on with your day. Right? Try to keep it simple again. Most of the time, you're going to be under this company tab or this devices tab. And if I come into company here and then come over to the policy section, these are all my policies. Like I said, everything's policy driven on the endpoint side. You can have as many as you want. If you can get away with one, great. If you need others, because there's different classes of users that need different types of protection, you can set those up. It's very easy to assign them at group level or individual level if you need to. The first setting you'll see in here is the protected files. How are we going to protect this data? I won't go through too much detail in here, but suffice it to say that the administrator can define exactly what needs to be protected on that box. And one thing I did want to point out here is the way we choose that protection. Again, with servers, you can make assumptions. With endpoints, you can't. Like, if you tell your end users to save everything to OneDrive or a particular directory on your box, you have a significant portion of your end users that are going to save everything to the desktop, right? It's just how people are. And then you're going to not protect that data, and then they're going to lose it, and then there's going to be issues. So you can still do the traditional backup of all the files in a particular location if you want, but we also have these categories. And you can create your own, but we have some canned ones here. So if I just want to back up all the documents, I can say, I want to back them up everywhere. I don't care where a PDF is stored or a doc file or an Excel file or whatever it is. It can be 15 levels down in a temp directory in Windows. We're going to find it. We're going to back it up, right? It's almost like the Liam Neeson of backups. Anyway, I won't get too into detail on that, but suffice again to say that you can find this so that when your clients are installed, they're activated, they pick up the policy associated that tells them exactly what they need to be protected, and then that's just going to happen. Down here, I get to choose how frequently those backups are going to happen, everywhere from 1 minute to once a day or anywhere in between. You can choose. We have some security features built in here as well. You can remote wipe a device. So you can see here, I can remote wipe a device. If a device is lost or stolen, I can come in here, click a button to delete it. Or I can even set up a timed remote wipe, where if the device doesn't call home within a certain period of time, it'll automatically trigger that deletion. So if the device doesn't even go back on the network, it doesn't have to receive that deletion request. It has a ticking clock in it innately that if it doesn't call home within that period of time, it'll automatically trigger. For highly secure environments, it's a very handy feature. We can also track the device. We can geolocate off its IP and pull it up on a map. And there's where you can turn off the end user ability to do their own restores, because you can through here. And I'll just end on this here real quick. I come over to my device here. Like I said, all the stuff you can do via the client. You can see in here, you'll see it under activity and that. But if I just come over to restore, I won't go through the full workflow, but you can do a search here. I can browse the data on that box, get right down to the individual file level if I need to, and then I can restore directly from the portal. I don't have to kick the end user off their system to get onto it, to remote into it, to help them with the restore. I can do it here and they can keep working away, right? I can even restore to a different device. So I could, if there was an e-discovery legal hold, I didn't get into the legal hold features of this, but there was an e-discovery legal hold question. You could restore a user's data to the device, that's owned by the legal team or the HR team, without involving the end user. Or you can preload their new laptop, right, with their last good backup before you ship it out to them. And then there's a way to do what we call an incremental restore, where we'll just restore the difference, right? So you can fill in the gaps when the user gets it. That way, there's less time for that user to be off their system, because they are the data's already there for the most part. Okay.
All right,
Anyway,
Dave, I'm going to play you the Oscars music, buddy.
Exactly.
Because there's
Irish,
a lot you can show in there, right?
Exactly. I'm done talking here. I'll throw it out again. Any questions, please put them into the chat. And then I guess we're going to do a little roundtable here, I suppose, next, right?
I did get a quick question. Now, I saw via snapshot on the restore functionality you had there. I think that answers half of this question. We got a question regarding the availability of deduplication functionality and immutability. The snapshot is an immutable snapshot, right? Yeah.
So our backups are immutable. The server backups are absolutely immutable. And sorry, what was the first part of that question?
The other one is deduplication functionality. I guess you're trying to save some space.
Yeah. So there's a couple of different dedupes involved with our server backup solution. I'll get to the endpoint stuff in a second because it does a little bit different. But on the server backup, we have front-end deduplication with our Delta Pro technology. So we quickly identify the files that have changed since the last backup, and then we actually go into those files and find the blocks of change within them. So if you have a 5 meg file that's changed, but only 200K of it is actually changed, we're going to go in and extract that 200K. So you don't have to send that 500 megs across the wire anymore, or it's just the 200K. And then again, we compress that. So there's dedupe built in there. And then on the back end, we do have dedupe as well. But generally speaking, with our server backup solution, our pricing is based off of how much data is in your environment that needs to be protected, right? So you don't have to worry about the back end size of the data and how that grows over time. You just need to know, how much data do I have in my environment? Again, trying to keep it simple. If I have 5 terabytes across all my servers, that's what I'll subscribe to. I need to keep it for a year. That's the contract I'll go for. And then you don't have to worry about the back end stuff. We take care of that. We know how that kind of averages out across all of our customers. So we can give a front end price on that. Again, you don't have to do all the complicated math and try to do the prognostications of trying to figure out how my data is going to change over time. You just need to know, how much data do I have, right? Very simple.
Keep it simple again, right?
Keep it simple. Exactly. Exactly. And then there is a deduplication on the endpoint side, but it's more of a global dedupe around the endpoints actually talk to each other kind of thing. So we have signatures across all of them, and we know if an endpoint tries to send a block up, but some other endpoint has already sent that up, we won't have to send it again. So it's a bit of an added dedupe there. Again, with endpoints, a little bit more complicated because people are on the road, bandwidth could be at a premium, all that kind of stuff. So we have a little bit of a different way of doing it there.
Great, appreciate that, Dave. I am going to introduce Christy now. I do want to point out, not only are OpenText and Scale Computing Connex partners, but they're also partners with each other. The two companies do work together. Christy Kanan from Scale Computing, currently serving as the Canadian Channel Manager at Scale Computing. Christy's instrumental in recruiting, developing, and nurturing relationships with channel partners across Canada, like me. Prior to this role, she held key positions at Salesforce Canada, Climb Channel Solutions, Interwork Technologies, Ingram Micro, and SoftChoice, consistently delivering exceptional results. That hasn't changed, Christy, and earning accolades for her achievements. Christy, welcome to the event.
Thank you very much. Thank you guys for having me.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. One of the things we wanted to talk about, and I kind of call it the elephant in the room, mainly because everyone seems to be talking around it, but there's only a few different businesses doing anything about it, and that's Broadcom's strategy for VMware. Now, all of us here are having conversations with customers about what to do rather than what might happen. But Jerry, that's mainly because we all feel there's a very high level of uncertainty right now around that strategy, right?
Yeah, and I'll let Dave kind of speak more to this, but according to experts at Forrester, they're really expecting roughly about up to 20% of enterprise customers to kind of move away from the VMware technologies. Some experts even suggest staying with VMware if it suits your needs, but don't crumble and throw away your plan B. And if you don't have a plan B, you should make one, right? So really the question that we want to ask is, where does this leave consumers? How do they plan for the impending changes, and what are things to consider?
And yeah, we wanted to do, what can our customers do to address that uncertainty? And I think part of the answer to that, not to steal your thunder, is have those plan Bs be as flexible as possible and have partners that are flexible too, right?
Yeah, I mean, from our perspective, we try to be as flexible as possible. We haven't locked into a particular like hypervisor, for example, or any kind of platform there. So as your business needs change, we can be as flexible and as fluid as needed to do that. The only thing I'll say is that if you're moving off VMware, you want to go to scale, because remember putting it this way.
Brady Bunch challenges.
Exactly. But and we can help with that too. We have tools in place. Jerry touched on it a little bit with the Carbonite Migrate tool, getting that data. Again, we're agnostic as to where that data is sitting, or we can go into a VMware, we can go into Hyper-V. Even if you don't have access to the hypervisor, if it's a hosted solution and you just want to get out of that hosting company and move the data somewhere else, we can go in there directly onto those VMs themselves and actually migrate that data out real time, near zero downtime on the cutover time as well. So that way it makes it easy and efficient to get out of there. So having a solution out there that can be as flexible to meet your needs. So you're not making your business decisions based on the backup solution or your data resiliency company, what choice you made there. You can do whatever you want. And then the company that you've partnered with is flexible enough to support those choices. I think that's very important nowadays. I think that VMware thing has really highlighted that for a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, I'll jump in there too. I think both Jerry and Dave make some very good points. I think even from a scale perspective, a lot of the conversations I'm having, both with partners and with end users, it's really around understanding, okay, VMware was your plan A and pretty much your only plan for how many years. And at this point, I think a lot of people have a lot of history with what Broadcom has done to vendors in the past and are very nervous or hesitant around what is going to happen. So really understanding what is your plan B, C, D through however many you need, right? And Scale is here to offer out being one of those plans. I think evaluating and understanding what is out there, there has been a lot of change in the industry when it comes to virtualization, when it comes to data center, even as a whole, when it comes to the concept of doing HCI or hyperconverge versus just a standard setup, and really making sure that you're understanding what the options are. Not everything is a giant price tag. Not everything is going to be a complete haul over that is going to take weeks and months to do. I think to touch on Dave's point there, the connection between Scale and OpenText, and specifically around some of their software that we leverage is their Carbonite Migrate software. On the Scale side, we have done, I think 9 out of 10 projects, we could even say almost 100 out of 100 projects, we leverage that Migrate tool to help customers move those workloads from whatever they're currently on today over to the Scale platform. It is very simple to use, it's very cost effective, and it can be done quite quickly. Even to the point of, I know, kind of looping in and circling in our partners here, Connex has got a great customer story where we leverage that, and that's with Kingston Police. For anybody that knows anything about police forces, having downtime is not an option whatsoever, not even a second. Speaking as a wife of a police officer, I can't imagine my husband going without having his radio or being able to phone in to talk to somebody to give backup. So in terms of making sure there's zero downtime, we leverage, again, that Carbonite Migrate specifically with Kingston Police to make sure they have absolute absolutely zero downtime on specific VMs. For example, like I mentioned, kind of 911 and some of those key specific ones that they can never have down. So it really is in bringing together the partnerships between us and OpenText, and having partners like Connex be able to tie us all together with you as an end user, to make sure that regardless of what your scenario looks like, we can help support that conversation and then help support that migration and overall to that new solution at the end of the day pretty seamlessly. So great partnerships all around.
Yeah, and I know Tim from Kingston Police, you've got Platform coming up next month, Christy, your event, and Tim's going to be speaking at the Scale event there, isn't he?
Yes, exactly. We're very excited to have a Canadian partner as the Canadian channel manager. Very excited to have a Canadian partner coming down or end user coming down. I think Tim is a very unique scenario as well. He has previously used Scale at a different company within a completely different industry. So I think it's great to hear from our customers within different industries on how they're leveraging Scale, and really they could be completely black and white to each other, but how Scale and OpenText are coming together to help support them is a great conversation.
Great. I want to be a little bit mindful of time here, and I want to get everyone a chance to win a $50 Amazon gift card, because otherwise I'm just going to steal them off Jerry, and it's probably very inappropriate. So let me run with that. We'll just skip past the bit that I was going to do. Yes, 3 lucky winners to get a $50 Amazon gift card. Just to let you know, it's going to be 1 per person. You don't get to win 2, unfortunately. We're just going to need whoever does win to be able to message us your name and email address. You can send me that on LinkedIn or get hold of us on Twitter if you want to. My email is dg@thinkconnex.com. Nice and easy to get to. Brian, could you bring up the first question? Jerry, I'll get you to read it aloud. As I said, by all means, answer in comments or answer by email or a direct message.
Yeah, absolutely. So Carbonite Server Backup supports physical, virtual, cloud, or all of the above.
When I was in school and taking tests, which was a little while ago, I always had a single answer for that one. I'm just telling you. I always lent one way. I'm not going to tell everyone what the answer is, but there was a very specific way I lent.
It's also process of elimination too, so I think this one's easy to want to figure out.
I like it. Okay, I saw we got one answer in the comments. I'm sure we're going to get answers direct as well. Brian, could you bring up question 2, please?
All right, so our high availability and cloud disaster recovery replication is measured in image level, block level, or byte level.
I only know the answer to that because you told me yesterday, Jerry.
Might be worth noting that this is the same replication engine we use for migrate. Same engine under the hood as we use for high availability and our CDR solution.
Cool. And then we will jump to question 3, please, Brian.
This one I kind of expect to be a little bit of a brain buster. So what 4 SLA options are offered with cloud disaster recovery? Again, there's 4 options to this. If you can name all 4, awesome. If you can name 3 out of 4, I'll accept that. But first 1 to 4 is what I'm looking for.
I feel like I should have jumped in at the point where you were talking about that and gone, this might be important to remember. It's a while back now.
There's a Canadian long weekend named after one of those numbers. At least in Ontario.
I was gonna say Jerry won't know what that is, because I know when I've said it to American counterparts, they are very confused.
No one knows what that is.
Well, isn't there an American holiday named after one of the answers?
There is. But it's not.
There is too. Yes.
They don't understand why we call it what we do.
But it's very Canadian why we call it that way.
As I said, we have had some live answers. By all means, take some time, comment later on LinkedIn or on YouTube, or message me direct. dg@thinkconnex.com. Jerry, Dave, Christy, loved having the opportunity to interact, to listen, to learn. Like I said, sometimes Jerry had to give me the answers for me to learn, but that's okay. That's how we learn sometimes, right? I would like to say thank you to all of our attendees, and a reminder to send those answers over or make comments on YouTube or LinkedIn for the chance to win a $50 Amazon gift card. So with that, until next time, everybody, stay safe.